And this is Unchrasmatic, and I'm back again, and this is the 12-inch or so, I think it's about 12-inch review of the Imperial Godzilla, released also in 1984. And just before we go any further, here we are with the 6-inch version, and you can see that this larger scale just dwarfs it entirely. And I think it is also a great figure. The sculpt is different. You can tell by the head shapes a little bit. They didn't just upscale the 6-inch figure, they actually changed the sculpt a little bit of the head. It's a little easier to see there. The eye is a little bit larger on the 6-inch, and the shape of the head a little bit more angular, but this large figure is great, I think. As a kid, I was hunting down, or I wanted to get this figure for a long time. I saw it incidentally at a store, I believe it was Toys R Us, but I never saw it again for a couple more years. Finally, I saw it in Canada on a trip I went to visit my relatives and my family, and saw this figure there. I think it was about $12 Canadian, so you know, probably worked out to like $5 US 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago, but like 25 years ago. But yeah, it's a great figure. The articulation and movement is the same as the 6-inch version, and the fins at the back are, you know, they're not Bandai quality or model kit quality, but they're great. They stand out. They've got a lot of detail in the texture. You could see it right there. It's not just like a slab, a gray slab, but there's actually some detailing and texturing that's going on here that you can see. So, of course, it's the same gray tone, same type of plastic that they use, but overall, I can't say anything negative about this figure. Again, it's one of the first Godzilla figures that was released in the 1980s. The second figure, I should say, that was actually licensed. There are KOs of this, as I said in my review for the 6-inch version. And again, they don't have the fins, and they're that color of crimson/red. A lot of collectors, or not collectors, I should say, but a lot of people try to pass them off as Godzilla figures at exorbitant prices. They're not. They're easily obtainable. I can go to Chinatown here in New York, and there's a lot of them as long as you go to the right shops. They're old, but they're ubiquitous, so make sure you get the right one if you're going to get it. And while it is large, the products by Bandai, actually the Godzilla products are a bit larger. Here, for example, is the Bandai 1991 Godzilla, the large scale version. I think it's the 14-inch, and he's pretty tall comparatively, so but he is taller than the Bandai Creation Final Wars Gigon, which is supposed to be in the 12-inch scale, but he's got a crouch, an action figure pose crouch, so it doesn't stand up straight as much. So this has, however, the distinction of being, if I'm not mistaken, the largest American release Godzilla figure. That's a standard action figure. Up until one of the larger scale Godzilla figures released for the 1998 US movie. So he's still large in his own right compared to other figures. Obviously, all the American releases now are around the 6-inch scale or the 12-inch scale, and this guy is a bit taller than that. So yeah, he's a great figure. Can't go wrong with the price. Again, he's pretty, I would say he's pretty rare now, relatively, but, you know, being of the materials and it's made in China, as opposed to all the other Godzilla figures that were released at that time being made in Japan. He's a great pickup, the value-wise, and of course he's part of Godzilla history, being one of the few licensed American Godzilla figures that was released here in the US. So pick them up if you have a chance, and thanks for listening.